Hi guys, it's Val from Toxic Free. I always start laughing when I press record. I don't know why, it must be just a nervous thing. Today, I want to talk about being called a narcissist by the narcissist and feeling like a narcissist after you've been discarded or you've left them. I got this quite a bit from my ex-narc, and I'll explain that afterwards. I was watching a video by Sam whatever his name is, I can never say his name, and he was talking about us being narcissists, and what he said was, he said that the abused become the abuser, that we react, or the victim reacts to the abuse by being abusive back, which is true, which is what I want to continue about, but we can eventually become more violent than the narc, apparently he said. Sam I think I said it then, calls it narcissist contagion, or narcissist by proxy. He says it's contagious and we act like narcs, being abusive to the abuser, full of rage and exploitive with the narc, whilst also being compassionate to others at the same time, just like a narcissist. Remember, Tudor and Sam, they're both narcissists. We shouldn't really believe narcissists. They see the world through their warped sense of reality, and they see the world through narcissism. We don't believe anything they say, so why we should suddenly believe something they say in a video, I don't know. Sorry Sam, but I don't believe that at all. To me it's reaction, and I'm going to explain why. Okay, so this is coming from a narcissist, and they have a narc brain, we know that, and they see the world from their own warped perspective, yes. We don't have narcissism in us by choice. Our narcissism, if that's what he wants to call it, or if we feel it, is through a reaction from them. My idea of this situation is just reaction, reaction, reaction. That's what I'm going to say. It's secondary abuse. It's not abuse by choice. It's abuse by emotions that's been created by them, and it can look like narc behaviour. I read so many places on Facebook that I'm the narc. I think I'm the narc. He calls me the narc. I feel like I've been abused. You know, I feel like the narcissist. Even the good things that we do, they will somehow see in their warped minds that we are the narc. Remember, their whole attitude to everything is to project. They project everything they are, they project onto us. So they're going to see us as a narcissist. But they also create narcissism in us. They create traits. And we do have all little traits. Everybody does. We have narcissistical traits, but they create them to the point where it looks like a disorder in us. And then we leave feeling like we're completely mental and that we are to blame, which we aren't. Yeah, they create narcissist traits in us through secondary abuse. We react. Even the good things that we do, they will somehow, in their warped mind, make us react. They see themselves in us. We know that. It's called projection. Everything they do, they think is us, basically, that we do. The covert, which was my ex-Stumpy, he was very sly, little dweeb. He was. They come across as little nervous dweebs, but behind, well, he was a little nervous dweeb, but behind that dweebness is a little monster, and that's what he was. And he created me into a narcissist of what he thought was a narcissist, and he created my actions to be narcissism. Again, all very confusing. This is why narcissism is so hard to pinpoint, and it's the most confusing situation to be in. That's why my title is like, will the real narcissist please stand up? Because you don't know who's the abuser and who's the victim at the end. The covert is very sly. They abuse us until we react. You shout back, you get upset, you get defensive, and you blame them for what their treatment is of you. And what's that? A narcissist trait. There you go. That's what they see, and that's what they create in us. You are suddenly being the toxic one in a secondary projection. It's secondary defense and it's secondary abuse. But the narc will see it as primary. They will see you defending yourself against them as abuse to them. We haven't done anything wrong. You know, they think that we're just shouting for nothing and that they are the victim. You know, we could be bringing up stuff to support ourselves, and they'll just see this as us playing the victim. Our reaction to a narcissist abuse are the traits of narcissism, but it's not narcissism as they choose to abuse. It's our abuse back. It's an emotional reaction. So it's pinpointing who's the abusive one. Oh, see a penny, pick it up, and all day long you'll have a penny. So they see our abuse as abuse to them, but it's not. It's a reaction, and it's the who's. There's two abusers. Yeah, there's two abusers in this. One's a reaction, and one's created or a choice. It's just it's. If you've ever seen that program, was a film, Face Off. Really good film. Nicolas Cage and John Travolta, and they swap faces. It's the same thing. It's the same thing as narcissism in a way, is that you don't know which one's which. Now the only reason and the only way you knew which one was John Travolta was because he would do this to his son's face. So what he did was, when he got his son in front of him, he did that. It was Nicolas Cage's face. If you've seen the film, you'll know what I'm talking about. It was Nicolas Cage's face, but inside was John Travolta. So he did this to the son, and they knew who it was. So it's just a shame that the two people involved in the abuse, the actual narc and the victim, it's just a shame that when the roles are swapped around and you really don't know which one's which, that one of them could do something to show that they are the actual victim. But that's the trap that you're in. You can't. So I went off on one then, sorry. They don't have self-awareness, they don't care, they don't have empathy, and they won't accept responsibility. They never think that they do anything wrong. So when they say hurtful things, confusing things, and they bait us, our reaction is an action of a narcissist. This is where the portrayal comes from. So basically, I'm trying to explain it. We defend ourselves against their accusations. We defend ourselves against their accusations because they'll accuse us of something. Our defence is their narc trait. So obviously, then when we're defending ourselves, it's being defensive, and being defensive is a trait of a narcissist. They hurt us by saying something nasty. We get upset. That's us playing the victim. Narc trait. They've created a narc trait in us. They accuse us of cheating because they've probably cheated. We deny it. We deny cheating. It's denial. It's lying. We've been cheating apparently. All those three things are narc traits. That's what they do to us. They make narc traits in us. It's frustrating, and I want people to understand that. Again, this is only my opinion. It's not set in stone. It's just me. It's just my opinion of what I think happens, because that's what I did with my ex. I felt that I turned into the narcissist because of what he was doing to me, and I'll explain that. He used to talk over me on Wi-Fi when we were talking on chat. He would talk over me, and I think he would do it on purpose. Thinking back now, he would start talking in mid-flow when I was talking, and then he'd shout at me, "Stop talking over me." And I'd be like, "I'm not talking over you, you're talking over me." And he's gone, or it was a delay in the Wi-Fi, and he would say, "Stop talking over me." It's a narc trait. He was actually making me have narc traits, and this is why I think, although narcs also want to destroy you, I think this one somehow wanted to make me a narcissist. I might come to the bottom of it one day. One day it might kick in, because obviously as the time goes by, you start suddenly realising, you get realisation every week, every month, every year, something kicks in. Maybe one day I'll understand why he did this. But he was creating narcissist traits, and he was pointing out things that I did and making them narcissist traits. He would tell me I have an ego. Now, to have an ego is the biggest narcissist trait going, and he would say to me, "You've got an ego because you look nice and you like to dress nice and you're good at your job." He was planting the seed of me being a narcissist from very early on. He would say I make a good salesman, and apparently narcissists are good salesmen because they've got the chat. That didn't make sense to me. When we used to have a talk, and I've been told I'm quite articulate and I have a good conversation. He said, "Oh, you're very articulate, you're very good at talking, you make a good salesman." Again, that is something that is to do with narcissism. Obviously, when you get a new boyfriend, us ladies, we like to tweak them, don't we? We like to make sure we have, cut your hair a bit shorter at the back, or wear jeans, they're nicer. You tweak them and you want to change them. No, what he threw back at me afterwards is that You know, I changed him. I wanted him to be a different person, which is kind of a narcissist trait, is that you're changing somebody. You want them to be somebody different, and you're trying to own them, and you're trying to possess them. And no, I just thought he looked better with short hair, and he used to dye it, and it was like nothing against ginger people, but it was a horrible ginger yellow colour. It was horrendous. I'm a hairdresser. Can't go around with someone like that, can I? And I'd say, grow your hair out, have it natural. I'd give him tips, but anyway, you know what? That was a narcissist trait, apparently. I used to be really helpful to try and get him to get a new apartment when he was supposed to be leaving his wife for me, and I would send him details on new properties to move into, so we could be on our own without the because I didn't want to go and see him at his marital home. And after, when it all started to hit the fan later on, he brought all that back up and said I was being controlling, and he was scared of me, and he didn't want to tell me that he didn't actually want to move out at that point, but because I was so controlling and scary, he didn't want to tell me. He made that up, portrayed me as a narcissist, told me I was controlling. A narcissist trait. There we go. See, this is what they do to us. So all you out there, don't think you're narcissists. You're being portrayed as one by your actions. Your actions will be twisted and turned into narcissist actions. So anything that we do, or us empaths do, that we want to help, and I was helping him so much. No, my help was turned into a controlling person. You can't win. He would also tell me in arguments that he recorded my arguments. He'd recorded them. So yeah, I must admit, my arguments with him probably sounded abusive. They probably sounded like abuse. I will admit that, yeah. He recorded them and played them probably to somebody else and said, listen to her abuse of me. But he probably missed the beginning bit when he was doing word salad or doing something to me that drove me completely and utterly crazy, to where I absolutely went off on one, and then he'd probably press record. Listen to her. So that's an narc trait. And that's why we think we're narcissists, because we're told we're narcissists by them, and we have narc traits that aren't traits, they're just reactions. Frustrating. Yeah, all these things he created in me, I just gave the dickhead confirmation that he thought I was a narcissist. Now, whether he saw me through his narcissist eyes, whether it was his projection, or whether it was the fact that he was creating me into a narcissist, I will never know. I'll never know. Never know. But he actually then put on Facebook once about, I've been waiting to do this a long time. If I find the clip, if I find the quote thing, I might put it up. I've been waiting to do this a long time, and finally I can do it. Now, right up until that quote and that status, he was loving me, he was still planning a future with me, and he was still, we had the narcissist issues, obviously. But if I was a narcissist for a long time, he'd been waiting a long time to put that up, well, why the hell was he still being my boyfriend right up until that post? Planned. It's freaking planned. They create narc traits in us. This is why they call us narcs, and this is why we think we are narcs, because all our crazy, shouty, angry, defensive reactions that they use against us, they're narc traits. And then they tell their friends that we're abusive. Our texts, if they do the silent treatment, and I said this in my last video, Actions Speak Louder, is that they will do the silent treatment, and then they'll read your crazy texts back. All our texts, where are you, what are you doing, why aren't you speaking to me, blah, blah, blah. They're rants of a crazy woman that they use against us in the smear. What does that say? We're a narcissist, because we're crazy. We're controlling. We're angry. We're defensive. They don't see what they do is wrong. Your reaction is wrong. Your reactions are the traits to them with a narcissist. They do not see their reactions. It's like, I've written here, it's like they are deaf and blind to their abuse, but suddenly gain all their senses as soon as we reply. They don't hear what they say themselves to us. They just hear the reply that comes back, and the reply that comes back to them probably sounds like narcissism. I don't know. You're shouting again. Look at you. You're always shouting. Don't make me angry. Why are you making me, you're playing the victim again, and why are you making... Everything is twisted and turned on its head. Yes, all they hear is our anger, our blame, our projection, and our lies, what they think are lies. And they see that as narcissism. And they tell us it's narcissism, and then we feel it's narcissism. Could have invented an easier word to say, couldn't they? I can't get my teeth around it. So if they take a conversation, a circular conversation, and followed by an argument, but they'll only play the argument bit, they won't play the first bit, and we just sound abusive. So this is how it is to everybody else's ears. We are the abusive one because of our reaction. It's not a choice, it's an emotion. And basically narcs create narcs, toxic people create toxic people, and narc abuse to me creates narc abuse. But the thing that is differentiates, what is wrong with me? Differs, I don't know, the word, you know what I'm trying to say. The thing that differs, that's different between us both, is that after narcissism discard, there will always be a narcissist. We will go back to being an empath. We will then calm down, and we will then be back to who we are, within reason, obviously. We lose our narcissist traits after we've left the narcissists. What does that say? They've created them all in us. But there's nothing you can do to tell which one's the narcissist. It's like my title thumbnail with the real narcissist, please stand up. Your roles are swapped around and you don't know which one's which until you've left them and you look back. But please don't think that you are a narcissist. Some people, for some reason, one was portraying me as the narcissist. There's so many other things that I can think of that he used to do to he called me toxic. Called me toxic. Go and Google the word toxic and see if you recognise yourself, which I just thought was a Britney Spears song. I just don't know, and the confusion is just horrendous, you know. And for him to know what the word toxic was, for him to know what the word sociopath was, he used to tell me to go and live on a fucking island on my own because I was crazy. And it's like the Bermuda Triangle. We'll never know. Don't know why I use weird examples. Do you know what? I go to Bermuda quite a lot, and if anybody was going to get caught in the Bermuda Triangle, it would be me. So far, touch wood, and I'm going there in 6 weeks, I have not been sucked into the Bermuda Triangle. So there we go. I'm doomed normally. So I'm going to leave that for now. But they create traits in us through choice. We react with narcissist traits through emotional abuse, and the emotions and a reaction. I hope that makes sense. Take care, guys. Stay safe.